All right, we'll go ahead and go live. Well, hello. I'm excited tonight. I want to get a chance to introduce you to Matthew Mejia. He has a very unique. I guess it's a franchise around the country, but it's very unique. I don't know if there's anybody else in this market doing this. This is a pretty cool deal. Matthew is a chef, and he helps our seniors age safely and, I guess, with good culinary lifestyle in their homes. So go ahead and introduce yourself and tell me about your company.
Well, thank you. So my name is Chef Matthew Mejia, and I've been with this franchise since March. But I started in culinary in, when I was 15. I was a dishwasher at a restaurant, and I stirred the sausage gravy one time when the prep cook called out sick, and the rest is history. They said they wanted to promote me to the kitchen, and I loved it. So I've loved cooking. I've done cooking all my life, and I've been in restaurants, hotels, river casino, K through 12. I've done a lot of stuff. I even was a culinary instructor for 10 years. But now I own a franchise here in Indiana with a territory of Carmel, Fishers, Noblesville, and Westfield. And what I do is I go into seniors' homes and I cook food in their home. I don't deliver frozen meals. And then it's customized to their needs and likes. So that's what makes me different.
Well, excellent. Do you have much competition in this market in at this point, or?
There's a lot of competition.
Is
There are a lot of companies that, like I said, they'll make a meal and they deliver it. So someone would order 5 meals or 10 meals or whatever it is, and they pay per meal. Mine is actually service, where I actually customize the food to their unique needs and likes and dislikes, dietary restrictions, allergies. I can work around all those diets. And then if they like, let's say they like extra garlic, I can put extra garlic in everything. If they don't like garlic at all, I can leave it out. I can put sauce on the side. I can change mashed potatoes to mashed sweet potatoes if necessary. So that's what makes it unique. It's very customizable to each individual. They're not stuck with what the meal is from like some other company. And there are good ones out there, but I think this being a service, being so customizable makes us really unique.
So do you make like one meal per time, or do you do meal planning for, stocking them up, or what's the process there?
And that's a great question. I'm glad you asked that. What we do is we make 12 meals in a stop. So the frequency could be once a week, once every other week, twice a week, once a month. That's up to the client. They get to decide that. There's also no long-term contract. So they can call me when they need me and give me about a week to 2 weeks to get them on the schedule, and I can respond. So I give them 12 meals in a service, and that way they have enough to get them by. And if they're living by themselves, usually that's about 2 weeks. If it's a couple, they're usually through it in a week. So.
Well, interesting. I was there thinking, my dad passed before my mom, but had it been the other way around, he would have starved to death because he didn't know how to, he said that in college he made this banana cake that we'd all heard about, but we never ever saw such creatures, so it was, but I never saw him cook, so but I can see that being something to make somebody, do you have like families that will contract with you to make sure mom or dad's eating, or?
Yeah, actually I talked to, and our marketing actually targets a lot of the kids of seniors. So We do a lot of marketing through social media, and quite often, at least half of my clients, their children have contacted me. Quite a few of them pay for it. They say, don't even talk to mom and dad about money. We'll take care of it. You know, but so yeah, that is the way it goes a lot. The kids are looking out for mom and dad. And you know, I was in a similar situation. My mother had Alzheimer's and my father had heart disease, and you know, he was struggling to take care of my mom, and I was living in Arizona, so I ended up moving back to Indiana in '99, and started cooking for my parents. Um, and that's kind of where I have a similar background as the owner, the founders of Chefs for Seniors. They live in Madison, Wisconsin, and the owner was under a similar circumstance. He was cooking for his in-laws and some other elderly people, and they just decided, let's make this a business, and it grew, and that was 11 years ago. So now they have over 100 franchises nationwide, and it caught on. So
Very cool. So, I mean, I can see this is something I don't think that people necessarily would think about as a service, but it's something that if you've dealt with the seniors and trying to figure out how to get them their food needs and what have you, can definitely see it, you know, so as being as a need. I think of, you know, my mom, for instance, you know, when she was still living at home, I was doing all of her grocery shopping, but I was also, every time I'd come over, I was going through the trash, trying to see, you know, if the meals were thrown away or not, if, you know, what was going on. Cause, you know, I didn't know what she was eating and wasn't eating. And then later on realized that she was having a real hard time because with her Parkinson's, she really couldn't open a can or, you know, there was, you know, things like that became a problem as well. So how do you handle, is it each individual client you do different things with, or?
Yeah, let's see. I have a client who was I've known actually my entire life, and he's 85, and he gets around fairly well. He's very, very sharp mentally, so you know, he's really good at picking out his menu items and things like that. But then I have other clients who aren't so mentally acute, and they you know, I have to do a little more of the planning. The little more of that is on my plate. So it ranges. And you also mentioned something about getting the groceries. That is a feature of what we do as well. After I plan the menu for someone, before I go to their house on the scheduled date, I pick up the groceries and bring them to their house, so they don't have to shop for those groceries. So that helps them as well.
Oh, very good. Now, so do you bring your own like cooking utensils with you, or do you use whatever they happen to have, or how does that work?
Well, it's funny. It's really a combination. I do have a kit that enables me to do pretty much everything, but sometimes I reach into their cabinets and borrow a cookie sheet or a Dutch oven or something, so that I have a little more cooking ability. Sometimes one of the items that I have on the menu, maybe I don't have something in my kit, a tool or something, but if I know they have it, then I'll borrow theirs. But as part of the deal, I put the kitchen back together. I clean up as I go, and I clean up my mess after I'm finished. So most of my clients say the kitchen is cleaner than when I arrived. Or when I leave, the kitchen is cleaner than when I arrived. So they appreciate that I'll give it a good cleaning and take out the trash before I go. So
when you're out and about trying to spread this message and, you know, to evangelize what you do, what do you? I would imagine a lot of people don't get it initially. That it takes a minute for it to sink in. Is that kind of true, or because it's kind of
yeah,
it's out of the norm. It's out of what, you know, people think of as, you know, aging.
absolutely. A lot of people will first ask me, how much are your meals? And my response is, well, it's a service. And then I explain the whole service to them. I'm not selling meals. I'm selling a service. It's more than meals. So yeah, that is kind of hard because that's different. The others are selling meals, and in some cases that's fantastic, and that's just what someone needs. However, I'm finding a bigger and bigger number of people that are just loving the whole service. And so far, I have about 28 clients right now. Every one of them has repeated. So no one has decided it's not for them. So they all love it. And I do too. I met some really great people.
So is it like like if you come in, they contract with you and you come in and do a 12 meal prep type thing for them, is there like a special incentive if they just sign up for like an ongoing service, or do they just have to recontract with you each time?
It's actually, it's not a contract, so
Okay.
they are free of anything long term. I do request that they give me 2 chances. So far, everyone has done that. So I do have to get used to their house and get used to their needs, and they have to get used to what I'm capable of. So it usually takes 1 or 2 tries to get there. And I've never had anyone disappointed with the first visit. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Excellent. So now, how do people find you, or how are you getting the message to the people?
So there's a couple ways I've gone about it, and I'm still working on more. I'm certainly open to ideas. I've done a lot of networking. I have gone to Boomers and Beyond. I've gone to Business Spotlight, BNI, and I've been networking with those folks and old friends of mine, and just trying to find discharge nurses, nurses in rehabilitation centers, because this service is not just for seniors. It's targeting seniors, but there are a lot of people out there who, maybe they just had surgery on their leg and they're not going to be able to do anything in their kitchen. So I kind of have more areas that I can hit. I'm also doing social media. I've been on LinkedIn, Facebook. I've had Google advertisements. Let's see, I visited Del Webb community in Westfield, which is called Kimblewick. And I've had great success there. They're keeping me very busy. And I visited the one in Fishers as well, Britton Falls, and it's catching on. There's another one just across Fishers into Indianapolis called El Beulah, and I've talked to their CEO quite a few times, and I'm pretty busy with them as well. So retirement communities are great. And I have a big magnet on the side of my car, so when I park at someone's house, everybody sees it. So,
Well, very cool. So tell me, when someone first finds out, when you're having your first meeting with people, what are some of their fears? Because I'm sure that people are trying to get their heads wrapped around it.
That's
it
a
sounds
great
like
question.
something for rich people, so it's like, how do you get people to understand it?
Well, and yeah,
because the top athletes and stuff have personal chefs and all this kind of, so there's got to be how does this work for everybody?
Right. So I think they're always surprised with what the service includes. They're always surprised, oh, that's a lot. That's very helpful. They don't have to go to the store. They don't have to cook. They can just reheat the food. I'll label it and store it. So, getting their heads wrapped around all the different parts of that service really helps. I talked to someone recently who she has a lot of dietary restrictions because she has IBS. irritable bowel syndrome. So she can't have acid. She has to have very low amounts of fiber. So no onions, no garlic, no broccoli. The list is huge. But we did we had a good conversation about an hour and a half long, and I found a lot of things that she can have. And that's where it lies. That initial consultation is where I get them to understand what goes on in a service, and I get them to understand that I really do know food and I can really help them. I haven't come across anyone as of yet that I am not able to put a menu together for them. But this one was particularly challenging. And we did find quite a few things. So she's really excited.
Well, so when you're talking to a family about this, is trying to figure it out, there's all kinds of benefits. One, they're not cooking, whether they can or just don't want to, because there's that possibility as well. I'm done, don't want to mess with it anymore. It could also be a situation where that they need the extra nourishment. Now, you were talking, you do a lot of memory care people, or people that have some issues with that. You made that comment earlier. Do you do anything to help them make it, I've been reading, if you put a chicken on a white plate, that they can't see it, or there's some challenges there. So there's things you can do to make it more appetizing. Are you doing things to help them with that whole process as well? Or
there are a couple things we do. I don't have anybody that's that severe.
Okay.
But I do have some that I would say they're not, completely mentally sharp. And one of the most important things is to label the meals.
Yeah.
So I have the box, and I actually put a little label right on top. This is apricot glazed chicken thigh with broccoli and wild rice, or something. So I'll put that on there, and it has directions on how to reheat. But other things I do, Chefs for Seniors sends out monthly letters to all the chefs, to all 100 franchises. And they include things like something to focus on for the month. What I can think of this month was trip hazards. So when I go into someone's home, I actually am aware that how important it is to remove trip hazards, especially for elderly people. They have walkers, or they have canes, or they have limited ability on their feet. So I'll look for things like rugs that are wrinkled. I'll look for extension cords or plugs that run across where people walk, or things on the floor, trash cans in the way, whatever. I'll look for those things, as well as, and that's not even culinary. Now, speaking culinary, I look in their fridge. If I see things that are past expiration or questionable, I'll ask them. I'll let them know, hey, I'm throwing this away. They're also limited on the amount of time they can keep the meals that I leave. I tell them 7 days in the refrigerator. So I'll put half of them in the freezer and half of them in the refrigerator. And then they'll eat the ones out of the refrigerator first, and then they'll move them from the freezer into the fridge for the remainder of the meals. But I watch those carefully too. I make sure if there's something left 2 weeks later in their fridge from one of my meals, I'll question them about it, find out how long it's actually been in the fridge. So I'm watching for those things. Because I care, I want them to have nutritious food, and I want them to enjoy it, because they deserve it.
You work with like home health companies or home care companies. I think that would be kind of a natural fit, because they're in there trying to help people, through that process as well, age in place and what have you.
Yes, and that's a category I really haven't hit very hard, but that's one I need to work with. I'm reaching a point where I don't have a lot of office time and a lot of networking time. So I need to hire somebody to be cooking and get them trained up and have them covering some of that ground so I can continue networking. And my goal is to have 5 cooks or 5 chefs working with me by the end of the year. So
Okay, that's ambitious. Yeah.
maybe a little too ambitious, but if I get 3, I'll be super happy.
Yeah, well, that's excellent. So if somebody's a chef out there, how do they get what do they need to know from you?
Well, they can certainly find me on Facebook. As in my 10 years as a culinary instructor, I amassed probably 400 plus, maybe 500 plus friends on Facebook that are former students. And a lot of them are doing amazing things, and there'd be no way I could get them away from what they're doing now. But some really, really amazing chefs out there. And so I do have a good group to advertise to and to solicit. So so that's where I would start first.
Well, this could be an interesting question. I think this would be fun to ask you. When you're interviewing, when you come up to where you're going to interview a chef, this is a very different gig for a chef than
Yes.
what typical it would be. How would you explain to them what you're looking for in a chef and what they would need to be to make this work? I think that's an interesting.
I've talked to a couple already who are very interested, and one of the things I kind of fish for is how is their experience with senior citizens, and I kind of start there because that's the whole experience. You're talking to someone who knows your grandmother, or who is your grandmother's age, or your parents' age, or your great grandparents' age. They're older individuals for the most part. They know a lot of really cool historical things, so they're very interesting to talk to. And they have children and grandchildren, and it's so I kind of start there and think, how would you cook for your mom? How would you cook for your grandmother? Did you ever cook for your grandmother? Did you ever cook for your mother? And it kind of, I think it kind of takes them to the place I want them, because that's what they have to, that's the space they're going to work in. So.
Well, it's going to be a different dynamic in the fact that if you're a chef in a lot of places, you never really interact with the consumer. Here, you're going to be interacting with them heavily, because they're probably going to be sitting there talking to you the whole time. So
that's true. They do. They talk my arm off.
Yeah.
But I enjoy it. I am not afraid of having a long conversation with someone. I've been accused of talking too much, but
I mean, I imagine that would be a different dynamic for one chef would like it, one wouldn't, or what have you. So
yeah, a lot of chefs do not like the front of the house in a restaurant. They like the back of the house where they don't have to deal with people. I know a lot of chefs like that, and I used to be like that myself. But I think it really adds a different dimension. I can remember years and years ago, gosh, if I could put a year on it, probably in the mid-90s, I was working in a restaurant, and a server came back and asked me for something. I said, "Hey, we're out. I can't do it." He goes, "You go tell them." I said, "I'll go tell them. That's fine." So I walked out of the kitchen, and I'm like, "What table is it?" He said, "I'll show you." He took me to the table, nicest people in the world. And I had to stand there and tell them we're out of porterhouse steaks or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then it kind of felt different. It wasn't like just telling the server that I see every day, "Look, I told you 20 minutes ago we're out of porterhouse steaks. Why are you selling them?" I'm like, "Well, I got a guy who really wants one. That's what he came here for." I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I still can't make them come out of thin air. That's the
right. I can't pull them out of nowhere, but also it gives me a different perspective, actually facing the person that is there for our great cuisine and there for an experience, and we can't give it to them. So that's when I started to really realize being in front of the guest adds to your passion for making the food perfect or making it how they like it. So
Well, here it's very intimate. You're talking to, you're dealing with one family or one couple or one individual, so that's a very different animal than most chefs would run into.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, it's quite different. I know one thing I like to do also when I make something, I have a client that she works at home in an office, and she's barely a senior citizen, but she is so busy in her work that she just doesn't want to cook. So I go there once a month and I cook her like 12 meals and she just goes nuts. She
Yeah.
loves it. So when I make something, I made our curried chicken salad, and I'll put a little bit in a dish and I'll take it back to her in her office. She's sitting at her desk and her eyes just light up, and then I walk out. And then I can hear her all the way in her office going, "Oh my gosh, this is wonderful."
Well, that's nice feedback, so
That's
yeah.
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I want her to be happy. I also want her to taste it before I leave. So
Yeah.
I do that with all my clients. I have them taste it before I leave, before I package it up. So
Yeah.
if it needs more seasoning, or I've never had anyone say, "I'm sorry, I'm not paying for this." Never had anyone say that. So, but they get to taste it along the way, and nothing is more fun. Here I go rambling, but one of my favorite things, a restaurant I worked in years ago, we had a chef's table and it was inside the kitchen. And part of the deal was they paid a price to sit at the table, and then we gave them whatever we wanted.
Yeah.
And so I'd have, one of the cooks make 8 plates of whatever. Well, let's make 8 of these appetizers, or let's make 4 and 4, and then we'll put every other person the calamari, and every other person the I don't know, the crispy chicken, whatever it was. And the being right there in the kitchen, seeing parts of it made, seeing it being plated up, having it dropped off right at their table, hot, straight out of the pan. Food doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah. And it's also good for you because you get to see the reactions, so
yes.
that's fun. Because normally you don't, right?
No.
Now this is an aside, but it's a joke. My son has a restaurant down in Florida, and it's a breakfast and lunch place, and so, but they had hired a new chef, and the chef's significant other is also a chef, and didn't have a job yet coming into town, and so for a period of time, this significant other chef worked as their dishwasher just to get a gig while she was looking for something. And she got on Chop, the TV show, and won Chop while she was their dishwasher. So I go, man, you guys are pretty uptown, your dishwasher wins Chop. But anyway,
that's awesome.
Yeah. I said if they didn't do something to market that, they were out of their minds. But
yeah.
Anyway, but anyway, that was my chef story. But anyway, so
funny.
Well, tell me what is the process if you're meeting with the family, or meeting with the kids of the family? How do you basically set up the program with someone and help them create a pattern so they understand, so people watching can know this is what to expect, this is what I'm going to go through this process?
Basically, I talk them through the process. We start with what I call the consultation, and we talk about all the likes, dislikes, allergies, dietary restrictions, etc. And then I have them look at the menu online at chefsforseniors.com. There's an extensive menu. It has about, I want to say, pushing 90 different items that are on the menu. And I have them look through that. They pick 3 dishes, and I'll make 4 of each. That makes 12. So that's how I get 12 meals in one stop. And so having them look at that, And then I also tell them that the sides are interchangeable. So if they like the salmon with the citrus glaze sounds good, but they don't want the wild rice with it. They'd rather have buttery mashed potatoes. They can have that instead. Because there are pictures on the menu online, and a lot of people eat with their eyes, so it's a really good way for them to see it. That also gives me a picture to look at when I go to make it. I want to make it look like that because that's what they saw, that's what they liked. So I just get them in the routine of emailing me or texting me what they want coming up next. If we don't end up picking or choosing that before I leave for the day. So, and everybody's doing pretty well with that. We're most of them want to pick their own things, and they want to take their time about it. So I just look for their emails of 3 or 4 days prior to the next visit. And if I don't get it, I reach out to them. And
Okay. Now, do you schedule the next visit when you're before you leave, or is that how that works? Or
yes, typically that's usually how it works, except for people who are like monthly.
okay.
Usually they'll say, well, I'm not sure if I want exactly, 4 weeks later. Sometimes it'll be 5, sometimes it'll be 3. I have a lot of clients that they have family that lives in town, and they'll stop over just kind of spontaneously and bring food.
Yeah.
So sometimes they'll end up with a full fridge from me, and then the next day their son shows up with Chinese that lasts for 3 days or something like that. So that's why we do an open frequency. The frequency is up to them, so it allows them that flexibility.
That's cool. Yeah, and you talk about the thing with you're doing with the special dietary needs and the allergies and what have you. I know there's so many people that have these kind of issues, one way or another on different things, but they're always complaining about trying to find things that don't have it hidden in them. My wife has like dairy issues, and oh my God, it's really hard to find things that don't have it hidden there somewhere.
Yes. I don't use a lot of processed food unless somebody specifically asks for something. Like probably spaghetti sauce would be the most processed or the most typically processed food that I use. When I shop, I start in the produce section, and I'm buying tons of fresh produce. And then I go to meats, and then I go to condiments and like pasta and rice and things like that. And I cook most of it from scratch. So there aren't a lot of those issues, but I know what you're talking about. They're everywhere.
It's just hard it's hard to not, it's hard to keep them away. They're buried underneath something that you're not paying attention to, so.
Or even something like high fructose corn syrup is sugar. We all know that, but there are other names for sugar. Dextrose, sucrose, other names that you see on labels, and it's still sugar. And things like mashed potatoes, well, they're not sugar, but they turn into it in your body so fast, you might as well have sugar. So there are a lot of things that we have to be aware of. And I don't claim to be a dietitian, but I will work with someone's dietitian if they have a strict diet or really tedious requirements. I'll work with a doctor if necessary. But I won't claim to be a dietitian, but I'll do my best, and I'll do my due diligence, and I'll consult experts.
Oh, very good. Well, it sounds like fun. Now, do you ever, if let's say there's a bingo group or something, do you ever do like dinners for like a group of seniors that are doing things, or is that something that's in your scope? Or
It absolutely is. Let's see, I was recently in Noblesville at the senior center. It's across from the high school. And they had bingo, and there were 30 or 29 or 30 seniors there, and they were kind of from all over. So I came in with another with an insurance group that was talking to them about insurance, and I got to talk about my business, and they all had lunch. So I had made their lunch and brought it in and plated it up and then talked about what I do. And I'm happy to do that. I will say when I do things like that, I'm not expensive because I know that I have an opportunity to promote myself. So
So you do like, for instance, any of our friends that are in the senior services industry that are doing things where they're doing outreach, that might be another avenue for a partnership.
yes, it's a great way to team up, because people love food. And my dog's going to bark here in a second, but
Mine's asleep, so I might wake him up. We'll see. Yeah.
but so yeah, it's a great way to team up. People love food. So there we go. So yeah, I'm looking for those opportunities. It also helps me get in front of people that I may not have another angle to get in front of. And then I'll wear my chef coat and do it right.
Well, I love this. This has been great. This is one reason carrying transitions, what I do with help seniors and downsizing and all that kind of stuff, and estate sales and online auctions and moving and all that. And then we created this Life's Co-Pilot so that we can get this kind of information out to seniors and their family members, because I know myself, dealing with my own family, I just couldn't find these. I didn't know this stuff even existed. Then I got into the industry and I started meeting everybody at these networking things and going, oh my God, people need to know these people exist. So
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a huge niche. Part of my training, I went to Madison, Wisconsin, and met with the founders and went through their training program. And the cooking part I had down, but I needed to learn to talk the talk, and I needed to learn about all the benefits of this. But one of the things I discovered was that the niche is huge. The seniors or people are turning 65 at the rate of 10,000 a day here in the U.S. So the market is booming and will continue to boom for a long time. And also on a heart level, we have people to take care of, people who've taken care of us. I'm in it for the fact that I can make a living taking care of and helping people. So I get to do two things: make a living and actually take care of people. So,
well, I mean, and your services can be used by people that, like you said, the one lady's just too busy to deal with it. It doesn't want to deal with it, or maybe it's, they can't physically do it anymore. They can't stand there at the stove. So there's,
right.
You're covering a lot of bases, but you're helping people to live their lives at a higher level.
Yes, and I did just start a client about, I think it was 2 weeks ago, and he's younger than me, and he was cutting the grass while I was cooking. Yeah. And I filled his fridge up with food and cleaned up the kitchen, and we shook hands, and I said, I'll see you in 1 month. So
yeah, so I could definitely see that being,
he was totally excited. And
yeah, you've got a nice large window of people that could benefit from this. So
that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, so tell me, how would someone get a hold of you? Tell me how that would work.
So the best way to get a hold of me is either call or go on the website, the Chefs for Seniors website. There's an area you can go for location, and you put in your zip code, or you can scroll down and find the one closest to you. And I will come up, and if you put the zip code in, and for this part of Indiana, and then you can fill out the form. That gives me that form, if you fill it out, gives me name, phone number, email address, and then I can start reaching out to you. Most of my clients, I'm able to get back to them if they do an inquiry on the website. I'm usually getting back to them within 24 hours. So, and then I have their information. If they don't answer the email because they didn't see it, I can also give them a ring or text them, and it's a good working system. So
Excellent. Are there any other chefs or senior franchises locally here, or?
locally there are none.
Okay, so in other words, if they go online, they go to the website, they're going to find you.
Yes, they're
Okay.
going to find me. If they're in northern Indiana, they're going to find another chef. She's up in South Bend.
Yeah.
And I talk to her frequently. She's awesome. She's been a lot of help. And then I talked to another one in Alabama. She's been a lot of help. This guy in Boston talks to me all the time. So the great thing about this, the founders have set up a really good support network. So we can talk daily and share best practices. And frequently a chef will put on, oh, I just went to a client and they rated me 10 out of 10 on my first visit with them, and they're all excited. So we can congratulate them for it. And it's just a great system they've set up.
Well, that's kind of like, the Caring Transition franchise. I was just on the phone yesterday because I've run into things where I'll walk into a house and they've got all kinds of guns. I'm going, I can't sell those. Okay. But now I can, because there's a Caring Transition franchise in Birmingham that has his federal gun license. And so we can ship stuff to him. He does the sale and then ships it to wherever it goes. So I'm like,
oh
well,
my gosh.
Yeah. So I have because of the network, I've been able to solve another problem,
Yeah, exactly.
for our clients. So
yeah, we like I have the car magnets. I've shown some people that. Others have had some attachment they put in their window that looks really cool. And then you don't have to peel the magnet off to get your car washed. But there's other ways to do things. And I've posted tips in the kitchen. That's what I've done for years. So, ways to make it easier or more efficient. So,
well, we'll need to talk too down the road. We're going to probably want to do some things where we're going to do like some networking things with our company and stuff. So I can definitely do appetizers, that kind of stuff as well, or just like
absolutely.
Okay. Well,
Absolutely.
I'll figure that out as well. So
I was invited to do a presentation at Del Webb in Kimblewick, and they had 75 people there, and I had two samples. I had a sample of jicama slaw and Cajun chicken salad. And at the beginning of the summer, when it was getting hot, that really hit the spot. So but it was just little tastes. So yeah, that's the kind of thing I do. Or when I went to El Beulah, I did meatballs and something else. Anyway, but the meatballs are a big hit too. So.
Well, sounds like fun. Well, hey, I'll tell you what, I really appreciate you being on with us tonight. Is there anything you want to get out, a message you want to make sure that people hear?
I want people to know that this is a service, and I really, all my clients are very happy with what I'm doing, and I'm making food that is better for people than having them buy restaurant food. Sure, restaurant food is tasty and delicious, but what I'm making is lower in sodium in most cases and healthier, and it's fresh.
I got to tell you something. That was one of the big things to me. Last summer, basically I was working at home and I was doing things, and so I started fixing all my own meals and stuff for like lunch and whatever. And we just hadn't been to a restaurant. And when I went back, the first time I went back to the restaurant to grab something, I'd been eating all kinds of salads and stuff out of my garden and what have you. And I went to a restaurant to grab lunch, and two things hit me. One thing was the price just freaked me out because I hadn't seen that in a while. Okay. And the second thing was it was so salty I could barely eat it.
Yeah.
So I wasn't used to it, and so it was like, oh my goodness, so that would be a big appeal to me.
Absolutely. Yeah. And normally I don't cook with a lot of salt. I don't eat a lot of processed food. So a little bit of salt I can usually taste. And most things, it's kind of hard for me to go out to a restaurant because most places I can make it. Unless I go to somewhere that has something really unique and cool, then but
well, I just know those restaurants have a tendency to throw so much salt in there that it's just, and we don't really cook with it. There was a joke. We had one of those little airplane salt shaker things, and it lasted at our house for years. So it's like, so we really do notice it. It's one of those things. It's like, wow, it's jarring. So anyway.
Yeah, well, good for you. That salt's a killer.
Yeah. So, well, thank you so much for being here with us and sharing with us. And I'm getting ready to have a government jump into to the thing here. For some reason, he decided he wants to participate. But anyway, so that's this one right here. But
Right,
anyway,
yeah.
I've been holding him off here for the last little bit. But anyway, thank you so much for being here. I get this out. I'll send you a copy of this video as well, and then we'll put it on Life's Copilot. It'll also be on other things. And by the way, if let me do something real quick. Let me do a quick screen share, and let me see here. Life's Copilot, just to know that it's here. And the people who bring this to you, we have blogs on here. We have glossary of terms. We have video libraries of past expert panels like this. We have upcoming events on here. We have our partners. And these are the people here who are funding this so that we can get this free information to you. So that's what Life's Copilot's about. And, we're trying to bring stuff to you because all of our partners as well have the same kind of feeling that there's a lot of information out there to make seniors and their lives better. And the big key is letting them know it exists and how to find it.
Yes.
So, and that's why we're here. So thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing with us. And I'll see you probably at Boomers and Beyond, if not before.
Yes, I'll see you. Thank you so much for having me on. It's been a lot of fun. I always enjoy having conversation with you.
All right. See you later, man. Take care.
All right. See you.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.